I'm Brad Rohrssen. I'm most well known as being a drummer of some distinction, having been signed to a couple major label contracts. Most notably, I can't talk so well with my teeth. All right. I know I look completely different. My name is Brad Rohrssen. I'm a stage 4 tongue cancer survivor. It all started near the end of 2012. I started to have some odd symptoms. I had a sore spot on the side of my tongue, and I had persistent earaches. I went to a doctor. They dismissed me and told me, oh, it's nothing, you're fine. Gave me some ear drops, some penicillin, which they thought may help with whatever possible infections I may or may not have. It didn't clear up. I went back. They said, oh no, you're fine, you're fine. When the sore spot in the earaches didn't clear up, I finally went to another doctor. Prior to that, they told me that I had a bad tooth. This is the first doctor. So they told me I had a bad tooth, and it was rubbing on the side of my tongue, and that was a problem. They insisted that I go and get the tooth removed, so I did that. I asked that dentist if he'd ever seen anything like this little abrasion on the side of my tongue. He said, no. He says, you're biting your tongue in your sleep. So I was like, okay, these doctors know what they're talking about. I had the tooth removed. The dentist assured me that 4 or 5 days a week after I had the tooth removed, that everything would clear up and I'd be fine. Well, it didn't clear up, and I wasn't fine. I went to another doctor, and they knew what it was immediately. They wouldn't let me leave their office without first consulting with a specialist. I went to the specialist. The specialist immediately knew what it was. He says, oh, you have cancer. I said, but not cancer. He said, Mr. Rohrssen, this is really serious. You need aggressive treatment immediately. I was in complete shock and in denial. He referred me to the county hospital in my area outside Chicago. Part of the process that they talked about was that they would have to split open my jaw, amputate a large portion of my tongue, pull all my teeth, and then still only have a marginal amount of success. I resisted that, but I did ultimately end up going along with them and had my teeth removed, which is a huge mistake. Part of their original prognosis is they only gave me 3 months to live. That's if I didn't act quickly and aggressively. Well, they didn't start a treatment plan for about 2 of the first 3 months, 2 of the 3 months that they had given me to survive. At that point, I walked away from them. With the help of my church, they petitioned the University of Chicago. The University of Chicago's approach was much different. They were really upset and regretful that I had all my teeth pulled. They told me that it was antiquated and that the removal of the teeth is really something that they don't do anymore. The way that they approach oral cancer is that surgery is not mandatory. In my case, it was strictly chemo and radiation. Just a brutal course of treatment. The treatments lasted the better part of 4 months, almost 5 months. I was inpatient for a week, 24/7 chemo, radiation twice a day, and then I would rest for a week. And on that off week, I would go back down to do blood work and CT scans and things of that nature. The aftermath has been really the big struggle. The emotional toll the realization that it'll never be the same. I struggle with tremendous eating issues. It's essentially a liquid diet for me. There's a handful of other foods I can eat. Mashed potatoes, fried eggs, if they're hot and kind of runny, soup, ice cream, all the ice cream I can eat. But it's a really limited dietary. It's not dietary, it's just functionality. The tongue doesn't function. It doesn't manipulate the food properly. There's two worst case scenarios that come to mind. I could have passed away, or I could have had a large portion or all of my tongue amputated, therefore not being able to speak. So I guess I'm fortunate in a way to be here to tell my story. The prognoses were pretty bleak, and I'm forever indebted to the University of Chicago. I ended up with the very best possible medical care, the #1 oncologist in the country. The financial impact has in terms of taking me out of the workforce, it's been really extreme. Willow Creek Community Church, it's a large church in the Chicagoland area. They got behind me, just did everything for me, introduced me to, who happened to also attend the church, Dr. Dean Lighting and Stephanie Lighting, Smile for Life Dental. They've helped me tremendously. I've had a great deal of support from the music community, the greater music community in the Chicago area where I'm most well known. It's been nice. Now I wouldn't be here today without my church. One of the real biggest lessons that I've learned, not only about myself but about people, is that everyone is struggling with something. This story isn't just about me. I'm hoping that it reaches out, creates some awareness about a condition that, unwilling as it may be, that I've become extremely knowledgeable about. But I've learned to be a lot more empathetic, and I'd like to pass that along. Everyone has their head in their hands moment, and there's no comparing. Oh, well, I had cancer. Well, I had an alcoholic father. I mean, to each individual, those are the heaviest things to them, and there is no comparing. So I'm certainly searching for a sense of purpose. When I tell my story, people go, oh, God's kept me alive for a reason. Maybe getting my story out there is part of the reason.